I'm Patrick Bailey with whiteboardcoder.com. Today is November 29th, 2017, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to install s3fs on an Ubuntu 16.04 server and set it up to mount an S3 bucket. Okay, first thing I want to do is to actually create an S3 bucket, and then after I create that S3 bucket, to create a user and set up special credentials to allow that user to read and write to that bucket. And so here I am in the Amazon Web Services web console, and I'm just going to create a bucket. Simple as that. And if you're not aware of this, each bucket name needs to be unique in the entire Amazon web space. So I'm going to go in here and just make something very ugly. So I'll say a test bucket 234157-D. Just make it obnoxious so no one else don't ruin someone else's day by making a bucket that actually someone might want in the future. Okay, copy existing settings. Okay, so there we go, and I'll go next, and it'll start rolling me through some of the things I can do with this. Now, there's some new things you can do in there: versioning, server access log. I don't need tags, encryption. I currently don't need any of this on this S3 bucket, so I'm just going to leave them all disabled and click next. And then we want to set permissions. So what I am going to do, let me double check what I did. In this case, my own user can read and write to this, and so I might just leave that as is, but you may remove that if you want to. In fact, I could, well, just for argument's sake, let me remove my own user's access to this box. Is that going to mess me up? For this tutorial, I'll just leave it as is. I'll leave it as is, but I'm not going to be using my user to read or write to this. And what I'm going to do is, later on I'm going to add an account, but I'm not going to add an account here. So what I'm going to do is, the rest of the permissions are good because I do not want this to be a public bucket where anyone can actually read from it. So perfect, do not grant access and do not grant Amazon S3 log delivery group server. Okay, perfect. So no one can see this. It's a private bucket, and that's kind of how I want it. That is how I want it to be. So I'll hit next, kind of review my settings, and then say create bucket. Boom. So there we go. So now I've got the bucket, and there she is right there. So now that I have the bucket, let me go create a user. So what I want to do is go into my services and go search for IAM, which is their user management. What does it actually stand for? I forget, but IAM. Go into IAM. This is where you can create and manage users. And I'm going to click on users, and I'm going to add a user. And I will call this user test bucket 2. Test bucket 2, that'll work. And so I'll click on that and programmatic access. Okay, and I want programmatic access, so I want to give this user, I want to basically get an access key and a secret key that I can later use in s3fs to auto mount the S3 bucket using this user's permissions. So I'll choose that and I'll click next permissions. And what do I want to do here? And then I can go to attach existing policy directory. So on this user, I want to make a policy. So you can basically define a JSON file that defines what this user can and can't do. So right now, the user has no permissions. He can't do anything. But I can make this user very precise, and I'm going to. He's going to be only allowed to read and write from this single S3 bucket. He won't be able to read or write to any other ones. But you could make a user who is allowed to create EC2 volumes, or is not allowed to, or is allowed to query what EC2 volumes are. So you can get very, very precise in what they can and can't do. And for convenience sake, they have this, you can click on this existing policies, and they have a bunch of examples in here. And so what I'm going to do is search for S3, and what I want to do is use this read-only one as an example. So I'm going to click on this, and this guy will open up. And you will see here is the JSON for this. And so you can see here is the statement. It says allow, and it says for S3 get everything and list everything. So in this example, and all your resources. So this guy should be allowed to read, to get a list, to list all your S3 buckets, and also to read anything from all your S3 buckets. That's not exactly what I want, but it's a start. So what I want to do, and I'll do some cutting and pasting here of something I made. So I'll come here and go click on the JSON and go paste. Oh, come on. Copy and paste. Read only. That would be why. Let me go. Let me go back, sorry. Let me go back here and click on create a policy, because I just wanted to use it as an example. So you could copy and paste that and look at some examples. But I want to create my own. So I'll click on JSON, and I'll come in here and I'll paste this. And this is from a box that I was making the other day. So let me go back into S3 to see the name of my bucket, because I already forgot it. Okay, so there it is, 2, 3, 4. So click on that, and I'll copy and paste the name of that. Boom. Now I'll replace this guy. I was doing a test yesterday. And okay, so now what this is going to say, it's going to say allow this user for the action S3 list bucket, so we can list buckets. And this should just reduce that resource just to this single bucket. So this user should not be able to get a list of all my buckets. He should just be able to list this single bucket. And I'm also going to allow him to put objects, get objects, and delete objects for this one bucket. And here's the one bucket / anything inside the bucket. I think you can get fine grained and have, even though S3 buckets don't technically have folders, I think you can come in here and say folder 1, and then they could, that would apply to everything underneath of this folder called folder 1. Don't quote me on that because I just haven't done it. But for example, let's say this user, I had a recent client where they didn't allow me to delete objects. So I could put objects, I could list objects, I could get objects, but I could not delete objects. And that might make sense for things. So if I didn't want them to delete that, I could just delete this line, and then this person could put things there. They could get things, but they couldn't delete things. And that might be a feature you want. But in this case, I want them to have all these privileges: put, get, and delete. And there are other privileges out there. You have to go look them up, but I know this is all I want currently. And to kind of validate that, I can go over here and click on Visual Editor, and it will read that JSON, and I have a warning. Oh, what do I do? There are action items for the bucket resource type. Did I copy wrong? Because this worked. Okay, what did I do? I did something wrong. Oh, I think I accidentally erased an extra colon. If I'm reading that right. Am I? Okay, that was my mistake. Just an extra colon that I accidentally erased. And so that's just a quick way to prove that you did it correctly. There's this visual editor you can use, which I don't use, but it can help you, guide you through what you want to see. But you can see here, list buckets, resource, and here we can see get, read, get object, write, delete, and put. So it looks all good. So next thing I can do for this guy is click on review policy, and then I can, what do I want to do? Give this a policy name, I guess, because I could reuse this policy for the other buckets, I guess. But I'll just call it bucket test 2 policy, just for testing. And what do I want to do? Filter, I could see all that, and click create policy. And there we go. So now I should be able to, now the policy exists, but I don't think it's attached to my user, or is it? Policy being created. Okay, so now this policy has been created. I need to go back to my user account, and what I can do is I can go back here and click on policy type and go to customer managed, and then click, let's see, there's a refresh on here somewhere. There we go, refresh right there, big button. And you're not showing up. Oh, I didn't, sorry. Bucket test, so there it is. So now I want to, so you have to go back here and refresh it because now it exists. Now I want to choose it, so I'll select it for this user, and then I will go to next and review, and so it looks all good, and then I'll just create this user. So success. So the user has been created, and now the next thing I need to do at this point, and I'll just pull out a notepad to write this information down. I need some information from this page so that I can later use it for s3fs. Now, I am going to reveal all my secrets. So what I really need is this access key ID. And so I'll just copy that. And then I also need this secret access key. And I'll copy that for later use. Okay, now this is really bad policy. I'm showing you my keys so you could abuse this user. However, before this video ever goes up, this user is getting deleted. These buckets are getting deleted. So these keys are going to be no good in about an hour. But to make life easier so it's more easy to understand, I just want to use what the truth is. But these keys will be gone by the time you ever watch this video. But you need to record that. So now you've got your user. And so you've got the bucket set up, you've got your user set up, and he has the correct permissions into that bucket. And also I have an access key and a secret key for this test bucket user. And so that's all good. So next thing I want to do is switch over and start to install s3fs on Ubuntu. Okay, installing sf3f on Ubuntu 16.04. So if I go here and look at, okay, if I do lsb release -a, you can see I'm on 16.04. So what I do is I need to install a few things first. I do a sudo apt -get install, and I got a few things I got to install. So auto make, auto tools -dev, fuse, g++, get lib curl 4.g utils -4 utils lib curl 4 utils -dev lib fuse -dev, and let's see, libsal -dev libxml 2-dev make pkg config. I think that's all I need. Hopefully I copied that correctly. Okay, so get all this good stuff installed. Okay, and then we're going to install s3fs, but I'm going to build it out. So if you go over here to GitHub, here is the website for the s3fs tool, and they have a lot of information here on how to install it and whatnot, and I'll walk you through what I'm doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clone this repository locally here, and then cd into s3f fuse, and then do autogen sh, run that guy, and then run make, sorry, configure, then run make. Okay, and then do sudo make install. Okay, so now I should have s3fs somewhere. There we go, s3fs. Do I have a version? Oh, there you go. Okay, so we got it all running. We got it there installed and working. So the next thing you want to do is switch over to, do sudo vi. We need to put in our credentials. And so sudo vi, etc. password -s3fs. Just open up and create that file. And then what we're going to do is we're going to copy these guys over. So first you have your access key first. Boom. And then colon. And then your secret key. Should just be that simple. And then save that file off. And then now it's there, we should, so save that and then do a sudo change mod to 640. There we go. Okay, and then now we can mount it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a directory, call it s3 bucket test. Boom. So I made a directory so it can mount to that directory. And then I'm going to run this by hand to make sure I can mount it. So sudo s3fs -o allow other, which I think actually has some issues, but I'll try it right now. And then we need our bucket name, which of course I should have just copied down, right? Okay, test bucket 2. So copy that guy down. So you put whatever bucket in right here. So there's your bucket, and then after that you put your mount point. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so now hopefully it mounted. Okay, so there it did. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my temp directory and I'm going to make a random 10 meg file. So I'm going to use dd to do that. So I copy this, go over here. So there's a simple quick command to make a random file out of a file out of random stuff using urandom, and it should be about 10 megs. And it's going to be called random.txt. And there we go, so 10 megs. And so as my typical user, the way I've mounted is not quite correct, I don't think. So if I try to copy random.txt to s3 bucket test, I think it's going to fail. Oh, maybe it didn't. Oh, it didn't. Okay, so it got over there, and I can go over here and see in my bucket. There it is. Random text got in there, and it's 10 megs. So it did work. So that's how you mount it, just using a command. So next up, I'm going to go mount it via fs@tab and set that up correctly. Okay, but before I go over to the fs tab, let me cover something real quick that I had to do yesterday. I don't know why I didn't have to do it today. When I ran this command where you have allow others, that should mount in such a way that allows other people to write to it. But for me, it didn't work yesterday unless I did something else. So I had to go in here and edit s3fs, s3fs.conf. I had to go edit this guy, and I had to uncomment this, so user allow other, so that had to be uncommented, and then it worked. I don't know why it worked today without that, but you don't need that for sftab. At least I haven't experienced that yet. I'm not sure why it worked. So let me unmount this. So umount s3 bucket test. Boom. Oh, is something? Oh, because I'm in the directory. There we go. So now we're mounted. So now we want to go sudo vi s3fs tab and go down here, and then we want to see what we can do. Yep, there we go. So I'll copy and paste this and go over it really briefly. Well, I need to edit it after I paste it. That's the wrong bucket there. So let me copy this bucket name again. So what I'm going to do, I'll rename this. Boom. So you have s3fs hashtag symbol, and then the name of your bucket, and then its mount point. Then over here you do fuse, retry, allow others to allow other people to write to it if that's what you want to do. And there's the URL, and then 00. Sorry, got a little bigger there. And that should work. So if I go here and I save and exit, now if I do a sudo mount s3 bucket test, it should mount based on that fs tab. And then now I should be able to just do a reboot of this server, and it should auto-mount it the next time. So it'll take a minute here. But also, just make note, if you haven't messed with S3 before, S3 is not meant to be a hard drive. So you don't want to put log files there or anything like that, things that you're continually writing to, because every time you do a get or a post, as far as S3 is concerned, that costs money. So if you were writing to a file millions of times, appending to it, it would be a very bad plan. But this is a good way to mount it as a drive and do a few things with it, but it's going to be slow in many cases. So it depends on what you're doing. It's not really a drive. It'll act like one. It'll do all this fun stuff. There are some things that's going to be slow. So think about that before you just mount it and start writing all kinds of useless files to it. For me, I'm just using it as a place to... It's nice to mount it because you want to upload things for it. Then you can programmatically upload things simply to it. Nice way to do it. Okay, there we go. So we are mounted. So I can go back out here and see the bucket is there. I can do an ls, and I can list what's there. I can copy that into... I'll just copy into random 2, which will take a little while. And there we go. So we go ls. They're both there. And over here, I should be able to refresh and see if they're both there. So perfect. So there you go. That's how you can mount an S3 bucket in Ubuntu 16.04 using the s3fs tools, and also how to set up a user to have the right credentials to read and write to it. So hopefully that helped somebody out there. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please give it a like. To subscribe, just click the subscribe button. Also, you can follow me on Twitter under the handle @whiteboardcoder.com. View any code I may have thrown up as a gist at GitHub under the username PatmanDenver, or check out my blog site at whiteboardcoder.com.